Hello, welcome back to another AP podcast. I'm your host, Archer Heron, with Peyton, and we're with Braden today. And we're going to be discussing each team in the play-in and the playoffs and our expectations for them and just how we're overall feeling about that team and what we think they can do in the coming weeks. But, Beach, anything to add, Peyton?
So what we're going to pretty much do, we're going to start with the lowest seeded team or record. I don't know really, but the worst team basically record wise. And we're going to make our way up to the best. We're going to be starting with the Wizards and we're going to make our way up to the Bucks. But before we start, I do want to say there's going to be a transaction window. I don't know the exact day. I think it's around June 22nd. But teams are going to be able to sign their two-way players and sign free agents. Jamal Crawford will have a team, J.R. Smith maybe, DeMarcus Cousins. So these the rosters that we have right now are not set in stone. So I think there's still a lot of room to fluctuate depending on who goes where, because those players can still have a big impact. But Peyton, anything?
No, that sounds good. I'm ready to get into it.
All right. So let's kick it off with the Wizards.
All right.
Okay. Wizards, honestly, I don't really even know if they should have been invited.
They were the only team from the East even invited.
7 games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have any shot at making it.
Yeah, I don't think
everything, but they aren't good enough.
They're down 5.5.
5.5.
Mm-hmm. So basically, what they'll have to do is they'll have to pretty much win out, and then even if they do that, if anything, they'll still be in the play-in game. I think it's just too much to ask from them. They're not going to have John Wall. Bradley Beal, definitely, he's not going to be enough to kind of take him there. So I'm thinking, if you're Bradley Beal, do you, even play? Or if you're, one of those, talented,
right,
I don't see why you, risk injury.
He's competitive enough to try, though. And, he's even been, trying to get DeMarcus Cousins on the team. Not that that's going to change much, but – I think he thinks they have a shot. I don't think he's not going to play because of injury, just because for some reason he thinks they can win. But
we're talking about how these games are meaningless, but come on, the Wizards they've been playing meaningless games all season anyway. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
honestly, 5.5 games isn't really that bad, I guess. At least as I thought, considering that it's the 4-game window for that playing game. But even if they get that playing game, I don't think they're going to beat the Magic.
Also, but Brooklyn might be sliding down because they're not going to have KD or
Kyrie. Yeah.
But the Wizards, I'm pretty sure they had the worst defense in the NBA this season. I don't think they would match up well with the Nets, despite even though having Bradley Beal star power wise. But I don't know. I just don't think they'll do anything.
Their team just isn't good enough in general. They don't have the bench guys to be able to withstand it. Bradley Beal's good, but he can't carry that team to 5.5 wins. And then maybe even if they get into the playoffs, they're not going to get out of the first round no matter what. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, they're a good warm-up team for all the other 8 games. Whoever's playing them, that's a good warm-up.
Yeah.
No, but I like what they can do. Hopefully, with John Wall back next year, they can actually make some noise in the playoffs. And if they get like we were talking about, a better center, just get some good pieces around them.
Yeah, I definitely think Rui has a ton of potential. If they can develop, I think if they can develop Rui, he can become that third guy next to Beal and Wall, and he can really if they can get a good center and some good role players, they could definitely be, especially in the East, they could definitely be up there with in the playoff each year.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it already too. So
yeah.
All right, next team, we got the Phoenix Suns. It was announced yesterday they're not going to have Kelly Oubre back from injury this season.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I think they had one of the easiest schedules for these 8 games. So I think that they could have made a run, maybe even for the play-in with, I don't know if Devin Booker, we haven't seen really him with on the stage this big yet. But they do have some good other pieces around him. I like Mikal Bridges. People forget about Ricky Rubio a lot. He's been great for him. DeAndre Ayton too, and they got some good pieces there in Baines, Zaire Sarge. But like I said, not having Kelly Oubre is really going to hurt bad. But honestly, would they have made the playoffs over teams like New Orleans, Portland, Memphis? Nah, they wouldn't have. But
I
like Monty Williams a lot, their coach. I feel like he's a guy that's really inspiring towards the end of the year. At least I saw it with the Pelicans. We always had surges towards the end of the year when we had Monty. So I don't think they're going to sneak in, but I feel like if with that schedule, I mean, they have a shot, but I don't think they'd beat the 8th seed in that play-in game, but they might be within 3.5. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had the 9th seed, but I think the teams ahead of them are just better. I don't see it being super realistic. They got like a 10% chance.
One thing.
Go ahead.
One thing that I think is like going to be one of the deciding factors for them is Booker. I mean, like you said, Beach, we've never seen him on a big stage. Like, I mean, he has great regular season games and he plays great through the regular season, but we need to see what he can do in a big moment. And that's one of the things that differentiates you from a good player to a great player is if you can perform in those circumstances. So if he can kind of will his team, I definitely think that they have a shot at that play-in game. And if he plays well enough, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I definitely think that their team isn't as talented, but we have to see what Booker and Ayton can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think down the road, like next season, because DeAndre Ayton missed like the first, was it like 25 games? He was he violated the drug policy or something like that. I think if they had him for those games, they would be a lot like they would probably be just up there with the Grizz, the Pels, and the Blazers. I think Devin Booker really can be that number one guy. I like what they're doing in Phoenix, and they're gonna have a top 10 pick again this year. I mean, I think they could definitely be playoff contenders. I mean, the West is just so good. So
yeah,
I like them though.
All right. I want to get it started off on the Spurs a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Spurs.
I would say I'd never count the Spurs out just because they have Greg Popovich as their coach, but I don't see it happening. I mean, maybe Lonnie Walker without his hair is like an insane athlete now, lost like 8 pounds of hair.
Yeah, he has more aerodynamic features without that tree trunk.
I mean, it'll be cool to see him play without all that hair, I guess. I don't know, but like LaMarcus Aldridge had shoulder surgery. He's not going to be in it.
I don't think that a front court of Rudy Gay and Jakob Poeltl, they're not going to be able to really carry the load against other really good front courts in this kind of like these 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
DeMar, I just don't think that they can do it. I really don't.
They also have no spacing.
Mm-hmm.
Without
and the spacing they do
shooters.
Have. Yeah, I mean, they got Bryn Forbes and Patty Mills, but they can't play any defense at all. But, I mean, Popovich, you can never count him out. But, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. I think that they definitely have a lot of young talent. And if Popovich – I mean, what do we do? Do we think Popovich is going to just stay with the Spurs until he freaking piles over and dies or what? Like, when's enough for him? I mean,
I don't know how many years he has left. I think he's probably got like at least 2 or 3 years left. He doesn't want to end on a bad note.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is pretty much time for a rebuild there. They've made the playoffs like the last 20 so years. They probably won't make them this year. I think they just need to get rid of DeMar and LaMarcus Aldridge. Find a good trade package, get some young guys in there.
They definitely already have a couple like good young guys like
I like Lonnie Walker.
I liked DeJounte Murray. I mean,
it's good too.
They're all good. They need to have they need to get a core. I mean, they have a couple good pieces here and there, but you're right. It's rebuild time for them.
Yeah. And that sucks with Pop on his last leg too. I really want to see him get another playoff run in, but I just don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah.
All right, next team, we got the Pelicans. I know Peyton's going to have a lot to say about it. But with putting them – I think this whole, like, play-in kind of stuff is really just because of the Pelicans. I mean, the league got what it wanted. Zion Williamson is in the bubble. But in, like, the last 10 games or so of the season that we saw, the Pelicans were playing better basketball than, like – they're playing just as good as any other team in the league. I mean, they got there. They were playing good defense. Brandon Ingram really just kept them competitive with Zion out. But if I'm being honest, as a Grizzlies fan, but more as an NBA fan, I think I would – like, as an NBA fan, I would probably want to see the Pelicans over the Grizzlies in the playoffs, like going against the Lakers. Because, I mean, it's LeBron versus Zion. It's now versus later. And then also they're going to have the Anthony Davis playing New Orleans again, and then Braden Ingram and Lonzo Ball.
everybody's going to watch that.
That would just be
Everybody's
so
going to
entertaining.
watch that. Yeah.
So as a Grizzlies fan, yeah, it would suck to not make the playoffs, but it would sure as hell be really freaking fun to watch the Pels and LeBron, man.
You wouldn't be as upset.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I want to hear what Peyton has to say here.
I would say the play-in is kind of hurting the Pels in a way because we had a super easy schedule and it was like smooth sailing towards the end of the year. So in a way, I feel like we had a better shot at it without the play-in. But, the play-in's still solid. Just playing a little bit better competition. Some other teams got healthy. I feel like one of the disadvantages for the Pelicans all year is we were injured. And then finally, once we got healthy, every other team now has 3 months to get all their guys back healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's going to happen, and I really hope we make the 8th seed. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I just think with all these teams healthy and us not having a very favorable schedule, it's going to be tough. But this is a team that's battle-tested through adversity. We were 6-22, started out the year 1-7. I mean, it was a tough stretch for the Pels, but we really kicked.
And that 13-game losing streak.
High gear. Yeah,
well,
that was basically 6-22 there.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest factors of the whole – this is such a weird thing because all these teams – I mean, obviously not every player, but all these teams, they don't have any of those knick-knack injuries. They're almost all going to be fully healthy, and that's something to take into consideration. And the Pels have been pretty healthy all season. I mean, nobody's – I mean, other than Zion. I mean, who else?
No, we were injured the entire year essentially outside of the last 15, 20 games.
Yeah, J.J. Redick missed some time. Derek Favors.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Derek Favors was out forever because he had an injury.
And I feel like you'd be happy about that because you hate on Derek Favors.
Dude, I love Derek Favors.
No, you don't. You talk so much trash about him.
It's just annoying that he can't make a jump shot.
I think the Pelicans and the Grizzlies will be that 8 and 9 seed interchangeable. Yeah. I think the Grizzlies really have to crap the bed to not be that 8 seed. But still, that's going to be that play-in game or two. That's going to be really fun. Anyway.
Yeah. It'll be fun to see these young guys play.
The Grizz and Pels really match up well, with Zoe and Ja, and then Jaren and Zion Williamson. It should be really fun.
Yeah, I think watching Zion in any capacity is going to be awesome. I mean,
for sure.
I'm definitely happy to see him healthy. I really like Zion as just a guy, a player. I feel like he's such a likable person. So, I mean, I wouldn't. My guys are out, so I wouldn't mind seeing Zion leading that team to a good run. That would be really, really entertaining.
Me neither, honestly.
I'm excited to say the least. I'm hoping we can make it, but it's going to be tough. But with all the young guys and just inexperience, because even with LeBron last year not making the playoffs, it's got to be kind of deflating. So hopefully they can bounce back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
All right, next up, you got the Sacramento Kings. They were playing some good basketball before the hiatus started. De'Aaron Fox also he was hurt, or he was out the first few months of the season. I'm pretty sure he came in, he started playing well. Bogdanovich has been playing really good offense. Also, Buddy Hield off the bench. They're gonna have Marvin Bagley back too. He's expected to be back. I mean, do y'all think they can? They haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. They have the longest drought in the league right now. Do they make it?
Dude, I think they're my sleeper pick for the 8th
What?
season.
Really?
Dude, the Kings were popping off before the season ended. And
De'Aaron's finally – even with Luke Walton.
That's what I was going to say. If Luke Walton doesn't screw it up. De'Aaron Fox was balling at the end of the year despite terrible coaching.
I mean, defensively, who do they have as a threat, though? I mean
defensively, De'Aaron, Marvin Bagley, Rashawn Holmes.
I don't think Bagley's that great of a defender.
I mean, still, with his size anyway. Yeah. And he still is he's a good defender.
They're just both athletic.
On the wing though, they kind of I mean, they do have Harrison Barnes. I forgot about him too.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes is good.
They as an all-around team. Yeah, they are good. They just struggle with some injury.
I don't know. I see them more. I don't know. I just think that their offense is a lot better than their defense, and I don't know. I do think that De'Aaron and Marvin Bagley have a lot of potential to be a lot better at defense, but right now, against some of these stars in the league, I mean, I just don't think that they're as good as they can be. So
I still think De'Aaron is
De'Aaron's a pretty good defender. I feel like he's got really fast hands.
I mean, yeah, he's athletic, but I mean, he could definitely improve. I don't know. From what I've seen, I think he could definitely be a better defender than he is.
Yeah, it just depends what Kings team we see. They've been streaky all year, so it'll be interesting to see which team. Because they'll go on these big winning streaks, big losing streaks. It'll be interesting to see what team we get.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice to see some consistency.
also this offseason, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to have to basically choose between Buddy Hield, who they did just give a big bag, and then Bogdan Bogdanovic. So it'll be interesting to see like what each of their roles is in the playoffs. I know Buddy Hield's been coming off the bench and he's been great there. But do you like maybe start him a couple games, see how that goes? Because I mean, they're not supposed to do anything. Like these lower teams, they got really nothing to lose, so they're gonna be just playing to play, So they could be really sneaky. I do think that the Kings are a good team, but I don't know if they could make that 8 seed. But you definitely cannot count them out.
Yeah,
Right.
they're definitely a sleeper pick.
All right.
Trailblazers next team. Yeah, they really benefited a lot from
From the
this
injury.
3-month suspension. They're getting Nurkic, who, in my opinion, one of the most underrated centers, probably number 2 on my list. Also, they got Zach Collins back. So they do have that team back. They have pretty much the exact same team they did last year, plus Melo and Trevor Ariza, too, are some big pieces, but they did lose some of their wing defenders.
Yeah.
That team did win 53 games. They did make it to the conference finals, too. But I don't know if that team is still enough to get them in the play-in games with Memphis, and then they'd have to beat the Grizzlies 2 games in a row or the Pelicans. But obviously, you can't play off Damian Lillard really clutch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they just have the experience and the leadership that a lot of these other teams trying to fight for that 8 seed don't have. So you really, I mean, Damian Lillard could pop off. He could give you 50 points, and then just like that, they're in the playoffs. So I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I definitely think it depends on how good Dame can be. I mean, if he can draw that, I mean, he's already going to be drawing all the attention on defense, but if he can still like drop 50, I definitely think that they are a threat for sure.
Yeah.
And Nurkic healthy. I mean, right now they benefited, like you said, Beach, a lot from this break. So,
I would say it kind of depends how Zach Collins and Nurkic come back, but I think that some of the guys they lost last year in the offseason, like Seth Curry, Mo Harkless.
yeah,
Not
Seth
saying
would
Mo
have been
Harkless
nice.
is the best player in the world, but like you have to be like liable to guard those guys. Like you can't leave Seth open for 3, and I think that was a big reason why a lot of teams struggled to guard the Blazers. I know they don't have the best defensive backcourt, but on offense, it's really hard to guard them when they've got more than just CJ and Dame out there that are going to hit shots. So,
and then also last season they had Rodney Hood too, who was
I forgot about Rodney
but
Hood.
He tore his Achilles.
Yeah, he basically won a game for him in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he had that OT, that overtime performance that was really nice. But yeah, I just think that they did benefit a lot, but I just don't know if it's enough to because all these other teams are really hot.
They've had their inconsistencies this year too.
It definitely depends on how those guys come back from injuries. I mean, that's the biggest part. I mean, if Nurkic can come back into full shape and play as well as he was before he got injured, I mean, I definitely think that they are – all these teams, I mean, there are a couple of guys that are just kind of like, they're probably not going to do too well. But for the most part, most of these guys definitely have a shot. So,
All right. Next team on the list, we got the Orlando Magic. They had – after the All-Star break, their offense was really, really nice. They do have Terrence Ross, who I think could be a real X factor for them. He's pretty streaky, but when he gets hot, I know a game against the Grizzlies, he literally won it for him. We were up by like 10. We choked the lead. Terrence Ross can literally just turn it on. He's got a torch from 3 too, but I don't know. They could have Jonathan Isaac back. He's injured, but I mean it's a long shot that he returns. But I mean, I don't think the Magic are better than any of these like teams in the West. But I just don't think that they could really blow their lead as the AC because the Wizards are so far back.
That's the Wizards. I mean, unless the Wizards stitch together something great, the Magic are safe. I mean, they don't really have to unless they lose out. But
yeah, I'd say missing Isaac is really going to hurt. But I mean, it's a good defensive team. I mean, I don't see them losing this 8 spot to the Wizards. I mean, I just don't think the Wizards are going to be able to win enough games. But they're not going to win in the first round. I mean, maybe DJ Augustine plays out of his mind again.
Yeah, he had that game winner last year.
Yeah, maybe they win one game. That's all I see winning.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bucks later too, but we haven't really seen because Markelle. I mean, I think the Magic definitely got a lot.
Markelle was playing great after
Markelle Fultz. They got a lot of length and stuff off the bench. Pause. But like Mo Bamba's stuff, he'll be nice for him. They got Vucevic, who was an all-star last year. He put up good numbers again this year. I mean, yeah, I don't really think that
they can be mediocre and still be the 8th seed. I mean,
that's just like the East is just pretty weak. I don't think they would make the playoffs in the West for sure, but they'll
East
definitely
is
they'll be in the playoffs.
incredibly weak. I mean, you can't understate that. I mean, like, they are not good. There's only one team that was even close to being to the 8th spot. So we'll see what happens. But next up,
team, we got the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah. I mean, we earned the right to be the 8th seed in the West, and a lot of it's because of Ja Morant. We're adding a healthy Justice Winslow. He was set to come back literally the day after that the NBA went into hiatus, which is annoying. But we got the training camp. I think there's 3 like preseason scrimmage games, the hotels and stuff, the 8 seeding games to work him into the rotation, and we got that like 3.5 game cushion on everyone chasing us. We're getting Jaren Jackson back. We're getting Brandon Clark back, and Grayson Allen's coming back too. He's like some really good shooting got coming off the bench. So I think the Grizzlies should hold on to the 8th seed heading into a play-in series. We just have to win one of the 2 games there, and I mean it's a real test. We are a young team. This is like nobody's really had like this playoff stuff, except for Jonas Valanciunas. But I think we're the only team that could beat ourselves because, like I was saying earlier, we still have that lead, and the NBA made it to where it's fair for us because we still got – if we're 4 games for the 9th seed, we just automatically make the playoffs. So if we just shit the bed, I mean, it's our fault, and it's not really anyone else's. So we really just can't beat ourselves.
You're responsible for your own destiny. You don't have anybody to really worry about except for, like, maybe the Pels. But, I mean, yeah, Grizz definitely have a lot going for them. They can be one of the better teams going forward. But, I mean, right now, I mean, the Pels, if Zion can play out of his mind, I think the Pels will probably make it.
I would say that this hiatus hurt the Pelicans the most, and almost in a way, I guess outside of the Clippers, we'll get to that later though, but helped the Grizzlies the most. Just because I feel like you guys had so many knick-knack injuries just piling on, and it looked like the season was kind of wear and tearing on some of your younger guys, but this little 3-month break has really helped them.
Yeah, will Jaren Jackson
I
be?
actually would favor these guys to be the 8th seed as much as I want to say the Pels. I think the Grizzlies are a healthier, deeper team. And if it's the hurt, slightly less deep team at, I guess, where the season left off, I don't know if I see them making the 8th seed. But with this healthy, and I guess just the depth they have, I think it's going to be really beneficial. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made the 8th seed. They're probably I'd say they were my pick for the 8th seed. Do I see them beating the 1 seed Lakers? Probably not.
Probably not.
But they might win a game.
The experience.
Do you see the Pels beating that 1 seed Lakers?
They might get a game.
Okay, good.
Close in the regular season, but the Grizzlies played them better than we did. Grizzlies actually beat them.
But for the Lakers, I mean, I know we're going to talk about it later, but God forbid LeBron gets coronavirus. And they're not that deep of a team.
They're not. I mean, LeBron and AD, I mean.
If they miss those 4 games, there's a lot of good teams is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying it's just a given for them. And there's a lot of circumstances that go into that. But, yeah. So next team, we got the Brooklyn Nets. No Kevin Durant, no Kyrie. They don't have they have an interim coach in. They fired Kenny Atkinson. I think if any team slips out of the East, it could be the Nets. I mean, they have a lot of issues. It's kind of really going to be Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen running the show. And if that's your big 3, trying to make a playoff, trying to keep your playoff spot secure, it's a little iffy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that Kevin Durant and Kyrie have been wanting that 3rd star, but I feel like this little playoff thing, honestly, I feel like I feel like Karis LeVert could show himself.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think Karis LeVert's really good, and I hope he shows it.
He could definitely emerge as somebody to look for. And, I mean, he could secure a bag if he plays well enough. I mean,
I
from
think
another
he
team.
actually got extended by the Nets already.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
And even if Karis LeVert does play well and then they choose not to keep him, like if he's playing well in in the playoffs, that could really boost his trade stock too.
Trade value is
Where the
gonna
Nets
start,
really have to give up less to get like a Bradley Beal or a Drew Holiday kind of guy.
And
Like
I
a
mean,
third
Dinwiddie,
big boy.
yeah, and Dinwiddie is also. I think he's a free agent this upcoming year, so we'll see. It's going to be an interesting team to watch. They've got a lot of contractual stuff, I guess, based on this plan, but nothing really of substance. They're kind of looking more towards the future than for this year. I don't see them.
They're looking forward to when Katie and Kyrie are fully healthy and ready to go. So,
All right. Now we're kind of making a jump up from those lower tier teams. Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks. There were some question marks about if Luka Doncic was in shape or not. I know y'all saw that about his trainer and stuff.
yeah.
But I mean, it's Luka. He'll be fine. He'll be good. I mean, they're the 7th seed. We've never really seen Luka and Kristaps in the playoffs. So, I mean, they really have the potential to make a run because, it's Luka Doncic. And but they also could lose in the first round because I think they're set to play the Clippers. I mean, they're the 7th seed.
Yeah,
so that wouldn't surprise me either. So they're a team that could go really either way. But I really want to see what Luka can do in the playoffs, if he elevates his game, if he kind of takes a back seat. But, I mean, other than that, they're not really that deep. They do have some good pieces around them, but, I mean, Dwight Powell was a big guy for them. They're not going to have him.
I like Seth Curry. I think he's
Seth Curry, Tim
outside.
Hardaway will have to be an X factor too for him.
Yeah. I would say one thing about the Mavs. I love Porzingis, 7'3". He's really great inside, defensively, which is a massive help.
Yeah.
But the thing is I don't even know if their coach Rick Carlisle, who I think is one of the better coaches in the league, do we know if he's gonna be able to coach? He's 60 years old.
I don't really
they
know how
floated out the number 65, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they lowered that number just because of the concern. If some players start to get it, I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled him out kind of midway through this play-in tournament. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like this is a team that if they play the Clippers first round eliminated, I feel like Kawhi is going to be a little too much for Luka. I feel like Luka relies a lot on his post game, and with the length that Kawhi has, it's going to be tough.
I mean, anybody going up against the Clippers is going to be in trouble offensively. I mean, that's a game.
I would say that the Clippers, despite people thinking about Luka first in that matchup, I don't think Montrez or Zizic can guard Porzingis. So I feel like people are kind of underrating Porzingis a lot in that scenario. I don't know if you can necessarily take him to a series win, but he can definitely get him a couple wins. I feel like people forget about how prolific a scorer Porzingis is, especially when getting guarded by someone that, I mean, isn't a great defender.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, as we know, Luka's one of the guys. I mean, what's crazy to me is this is his second year in the league, and he's got it riding on his shoulders. And I mean, what's even better is people don't even expect him to play bad. Like, I think that he has all the tools, and I mean, even you could say experience because he's been playing professional ball for 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's won some championships over in Europe too.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got that X factor. So I'm really excited to see them play, and I think Porzingis, like you said, Peyton, is really, really good. So
yeah, especially against the Clippers in that matchup. I don't see Porzingis having a single bad game against that team.
Also, for the Clippers, though, I mean, these 8 games are going to be really important for the Mavericks because they're only 1.5 games behind Houston and OKC, the 2 teams ahead of them. And they played like 3 more games than either of those teams. They lost them all. So, I mean, if they can really put on a run in these 8 games, and I mean, and like, the seeding games, they can really they can move up because the 7 through 5 is kind of like really close, like I was talking about. But if they can get to a higher seed and not have to play the Clippers, then I definitely think they can make a run.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the Pacers.
Next team, Indiana Pacers. They're really a team. They don't really have a superstar, but they just got a ton of guys that really do their job, play their role well. Big question: how is Victor Oladipo going to come back? They won. I'm pretty sure the Pacers. They did win 6 of the last 7 games he played.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they might have won those games, but I mean, watching him come back, he didn't seem like he was himself. I mean, I watched him play the Bulls. I think that was his first game back, and he He didn't look good. I mean, they didn't play him
He
a
did hit
lot.
that game winner.
I
Yeah, he
want to
did.
talk
He
about
shot like
that.
20% that game though too. Like
Yeah.
he,
Yeah, he had a bad game. He had a bad game. I mean, that shot definitely was fantastic, but I think that the 3 months might have helped him, but it also might have hurt him because he finally got back to that basketball mentality, like he was ready to play, and then he got ripped out of that. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's gonna be tough for the Pacers. I don't know if I see them. They're a weird team. Like they're not good enough to really compete in the playoffs, but like they could win in the first round potentially. But I don't think they can against the Heat.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. They're a pretender. I feel like they're always going to be a decently mediocre team in the playoffs, but they're never going to win a ring unless Oladipo kind of levels up to kind of where he was again, or they got to get a guy
I
that can
mean,
kind of carry him over the
with with everyone coming back from injury, I mean, they are a deep team. Obviously, DeMontis Sabonis, one of the best rebounders in the league. He can score it well inside. And then they got Miles Turner to space the floor.
great defensively.
Malcolm, yeah, Malcolm Brogdon. They are a top 10 defense, like you said. They don't have Jeremy Lamb though, who he's not going to come back. He tore his ace. He messed himself up pretty bad. But I think for them to have anywhere a chance for them to win, it's really gonna depend on Victor Oladipo, and if he can come back to that Victor Oladipo that we know and love, that most improved candidate kind of guy, the All NBA level. But he's gonna really need to show up to take over games. But I think if he can, then maybe the Pacers do make it out of the first round. But I just don't know how
it
much of
depends on Oladipo's play. So we'll have to see where he's at when we start getting back into this season. I mean, it really relies on him, in my opinion. They need somebody like him to be able to kind of carry that load. So
yeah,
we'll see
because
what
most of
happens.
these teams have like a main guy that can take over, and Victor Oladipo really can't do that.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, maybe he just goes back to
Yeah, like
his
that's what
old
I'm
self.
saying. Like he has the
Okay.
potential. That's the kind of player he is. But
Uh,
next up, are you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say Houston Rockets are up
Yeah.
next.
Next up, we got the Rockets. Very weird case. They play that small ball lineup. We got skinny James Harden. He looked kind of worn down towards the end of the season. Before the shutdown, he was averaging only I know I'm saying only, but he was averaging like 28 points a game. But when he is averaging like 34, 35 this season, he started shooting it a lot worse. But he's lost a lot of weight. He's rested. He's ready to go. Russell Westbrook and him. I mean, that should be interesting, but with the small ball, I just don't know how it's going to translate to the playoffs. But if they play like a team, like I'm pretty sure they're supposed to play the Jazz first round, if I'm not mistaken, if nothing changes.
Actually, they're no, yeah, you're right. They're playing the Jazz.
Playing the Jazz.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I think that could be very beneficial to Houston, especially with Rudy Gobert. Because like he's not gonna be able to run with and stay on the perimeter with a PJ Tucker kind of guy. I really like Robert Covington for him. He's a great defender, especially at his size, playing the power forward. He can get a lot of blocks, a lot of steals. He's really nice alongside James Harden. But it's just such a weird kind of team, like how they're structured. I mean, we haven't really seen anything like it. 6'5" PJ Tucker at center, but I don't know. Should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all season the Russell Westbrook, James Harden experiment hasn't exactly been going to plan. I think a lot of people expected more from them, and I think that honestly their play styles kind of clash. Like, I just don't think that they can have a lot of success if they keep playing like that. Like, I don't want to say selfish, but they each seem more invested in themselves than the team almost. I mean, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, Harden's one of the best players in the NBA. Russell Westbrook is up there with some of the best guys in the NBA. So it all comes down to if they can get past that hump. The way they were playing in the regular season, if they can improve and play more as a team than individually, they can succeed. And I think that they can get past the first, maybe the second round.
One thing I actually do want to add really fast is they're actually slotted to play the Nuggets. The Jazz and Thunder would be matching up right now at 4 and 5, and then it'd be Houston, Denver at 6 and 3. And I think that benefits Houston a lot, honestly. I know the Jazz matchup would too.
Well, the Thunder and the Rockets both have the same record, so they could fluctuate depending on how the seeding games go. But
we'll see. Both of those teams are relatively beneficial for the Rockets because they both have centers that their coaches are going to want to play and neither of them are quite as athletic as some of the perimeter guys on the Rockets.
For sure.
Not even just athletic, just fast. I mean, both those guys are slow. I mean, they're big, but they aren't exactly.
Hey, maybe Skinny Jokic isn't slow.
You know what? You're right. Skinny Jokic, that might benefit if he can be fast. I mean,
It hurt him against like almost every other team in the league, I feel like. But it
Maybe.
would help him against the Rockets.
Skinny
Actually-
Jokic. We'll get to that. We'll get to Skinny Jokic. Ben Simmons back from I think he was having issues with his back. And, I mean, it's just really adding an all-star to the starting lineup, which is always helpful. But they still can't really they still have a shooting problem, which is something that's really going to, I think, really going to affect them negatively. But one thing for Philly, I really think that I just need to see them win. I mean, like, there's just so much uncertainty surrounding them. And I think if they, get bounced in the first round this year, it's really going to look bad for Ben. And, I mean, I guess they could fire Brett Brown, but people are going to be saying that, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid really can't work well together. And they got to trade one of them or something like that. But I really think like a guy that I really think is going to be a big X factor for Philly is going to be Shake Milton.
yeah, I was going to talk about him.
Yeah, he was literally shooting like 59% in the last few games. He's shooting like 61 from three, which is ridiculous. Obviously, he's not going to keep that up, but still, he's a guy that can really space the floor for him.
Yeah, one thing I thought that I think that if they put Ben at like power forward, like took him off the ball and put Shake Milton up point guard, I mean that would do more than just change Ben Simmons. That would change the way teams played the Sixers. Like if they did that with no like warning, I feel like they would win more games just because that team would have to game plan for that as well as a Ben Simmons point guard.
I don't know, but that's also changing up what they've been doing all season. And plus, Ben Simmons' defense on the on point guard has been one of the best in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how they would work it, but I do think that if they were to put Shake at point guard, it could benefit them. But it could also benefit them if they just kept Ben Simmons there. So it honestly depends on the matchup. What'd you say, Ben?
The bubble hurt and helped this team. They do get Ben Simmons back, but there's not a home court anymore.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I forgot to say that.
Yeah,
that hurts hard.
They're 29-2 at home, 10-24 on the road. That's a pretty big difference. I don't think 2K noises are going to benefit them in any way. Fans would. So
yeah, that's one of the biggest things that's going to hurt them.
Can they win on the road / with no fans?
Mm-hmm.
It's yet to be seen, I guess, really, if any team can do that. But the Sixers will be the one that I think have the worst shot at doing it.
I think they I think they should like look to start Shake Milton, maybe bring Al Horford off the bench, kind of go Ben Simmons, Shake Milton, Josh Richardson maybe at the 3. I don't know how tall he is, but then Toby at the 4, and then put Joe at the 5. I think having that shooting in the starting lineup, which is what they really benefited from last year with JJ Redick, can really be something that helps them take that next step because they've always had a shooting problem this year. So I don't know.
I think Horford also off the bench will be a lot better. He's been really frustrated with some of the looks he's gotten in the starting lineup. On the bench, I feel like he kind of command the ball a little bit more.
And he's just been a lot less efficient too. They weren't the player that they thought they were signing because they gave him a big contract. Because in Boston he was really nice, but he's not playing like he did in Boston. Which is
another thing that with the Shake Milton, I think that if they were to start with what they've been doing, Ben Simmons at point guard, and then if that doesn't work out, if they aren't winning games, I would not be surprised if they went to a Ben Simmons power forward. I mean, he can guard anybody on the floor. So, I mean, it's not like that point guard matchup is nice, but it depending on who they play. I mean, I think that it could change things up for sure, and for the better or the worse. But
I just think they've never really experimented with that or done anything with that. So I don't really see why they would change that up literally in the playoffs. But
I mean, I think if nothing's working out for them, but I think if they're losing games, I wouldn't be surprised. Just as a last-ditch effort. I mean, I know they haven't really tried it out, but I mean, sometimes the unexpected is better because the team they're playing can't game plan for it as well. Because that's one of the biggest parts of preparing for a matchup is game planning and watching film. And when you're not expecting something like that, that can change the dynamic of the whole game. I mean, just depends on how well it works in the long run.
All right. So up next, unless you guys have anything else to add.
I was gonna say, how far do y'all think that the Sixers can make it this year?
That's tough. That's tough.
I mean, they could. I wouldn't be surprised if they went all the way to the conference finals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in like the second round too.
Yeah,
the Celtics matchup is not favorable. If they play the
not
Celtics,
at all.
I don't think they're gonna make it past.
But they're just such a good defensive team
Celtics
too.
need to have I feel like the Celtics have always kind of had their number. I feel like Simmons and Tatum have a semi rivalry, and I don't think Simmons has won that very often.
And also, okay, we'll talk about the Celtics later because there's the center matchup is iffy too.
That's
but
true. That's true.
Next up, we got the OKC Thunder. Very interesting. Another team that no other teams really are going to want to face early on because no one expected the Thunder to be where they are. They have nothing to lose. Also, Chris Paul is going to be nice for him. Dennis Schroeder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have three nice point guard rotation.
Even Adams, honestly, has been good.
You surround them with Danilo Gallinari, who's putting up almost 20 a game. Steven Adams, too. I mean, I really don't know what they can do in the playoffs. I don't think that they could really make much noise, but I definitely think they could be a big, upset team that could really make teams. I don't know, because I don't know what Billy Donovan will do, but I mean, I think maybe you could start Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
How tall is Shai? I'm just curious.
I think he's 6'5".
He's
maybe
6'6", but he's really lengthy. He's long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he could definitely play the three.
He's not small. He could play small forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options that they can go with. I think I trust Billy Donovan with it. But can those lineups play enough minutes together in the postseason to win a series? I don't know.
If there was a most improved coach category, it'd be Billy Donovan, at least with his stint with the Thunder, because he came into the league being one of, I would say, at least in my opinion, the worst coach in the league for those first couple years with Westbrook. But since then, he's really evolved, and I know Chris Paul's had his ISOs and stuff, but he's figured out kind of a balance between when they should move the ball into ISO, and he's obviously drawn up some great plays in the fourth quarter with that team's fourth quarter comebacks. I feel like every time. I feel like they could make some noise if it's against a team like the Jazz or Nuggets. I know the Jazz are decently experienced, but I feel like Chris Paul's leadership ability in the playoffs is really undervalued.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets, honestly, are just I don't see them succeeding if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play enough. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But I do think the Thunder have upset opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're one of the most muddled teams. They could go both ways just as easily as any other team. I mean, they could make a run. They definitely have that ability, but at the same time, do they have the pieces they need to compete against these big teams with superstars? I mean, Chris Paul is great and all, but I honestly wouldn't classify him as a superstar. I mean, he's good, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see him as one of those guys in the league anymore.
Yeah, I definitely do think that Chris Paul. Hold on, I'd messed something up. But yeah, his leadership is gonna be something that can really get them through close games and stuff. He's really clutch. In those last 4 minutes of the game, Chris Paul, you can count on him to get you a bucket. He's a guy that could close out games. I think he's gonna be really the deciding factor on what OKC could do. And like I said, I think out of all the teams in the West, they probably have the best upset potential out of any other team. Right. But if y'all don't have anything else to say about them, next up, we got a really interesting team here, the Miami Heat. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this personally. The Miami Heat are my sleeper team to make the finals in the East. They added Andre Iguodala, and they added Jay Crowder at the trade deadline. There's some guys that had some serious playoff runs, and they can really help bind together these young guys alongside Jimmy and Goran Dragic, and providing veteran leadership and a winning presence. And like I said in another podcast, I was talking about how the young guys have never really been under the spotlight like this. But they still have some really good young pieces. Bam Adebayo, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. They got a lot of different guys that play the roles really well. I mean, I think it's going to really be up to those young guys, though, how they handle the pressure and the intensity of the postseason. But I really think adding those vets at the trade deadline, because Jay Crowder's been really nice for him. Like, he wasn't very efficient with the Grizzlies, but because he was starting for us. But now he's coming off the bench, and he's bringing that energy that he always brings for the Heat. And he started shooting. I think he's shooting like 39% from three now, 40-something from the field. But, yeah, I think he'll be definitely an X factor for him. But I think ultimately it'll be up to the young core to decide how far they go.
The Heat are like stitched together perfectly. They have the young guys who are playing well, but they also have the old guys who are playing well, and it's kind of a mentoring like cycle almost because they're helping the young guys play better, and in turn the team is just they're working perfectly in sync. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of a like a successful playoff run is the fact that your team is together and they're all playing on the same page almost. I don't know how really to phrase that.
Yeah. I don't love Iguodala, I'll say that. But the Heat are – I don't know if I'd call them the sleeper finals team, but if I chose any team other than the Bucks to – well, I guess, yeah, outside the Bucks, the Celtics would be my team. But if I'd choose any team to actually beat the Bucks, it would be the Heat. I'm pretty sure the Heat I know they're undefeated against the Bucks. So they're 2-0 or 3-0, and both times are all.
All right, we're back.
All right, so I got cut out because of the internet, but I was in the middle of saying, I guess the Heat and the Bucks have had their duels this year. One of the first games of the year, the Heat ended up beating the Bucks by 5 in overtime. But recently, when they played, this was one of the few teams that had beaten the Bucks, and it was a really highly anticipated matchup. And the Heat ended up winning by 26, so not even close. And this is a game that the Bucks scored 89. So the Heat kind of have the Bucks number. It'll be interesting to see Bam Adebayo and Giannis. I don't know if they're directly going to be paired up guarding one another, but I feel like Bam Adebayo's rim protection is really going to help. And I'll be interested to see what happens. I don't know if they can beat the Celtics, but I do think they have a shot at the Bucks.
All right. Next up, we got the Utah Jazz. Obviously, we got the Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell whole drama thing with the coronavirus, and that has potential to negatively really impact the team chemistry. But I think I've heard that they've worked it out, league sources.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem at all.
I think
at the end of the day, it's about
I think the media turned that into more than it was, in my opinion.
But I mean, I do think something that is definitely a problem for him is losing Bojan Bogdanovic to that wrist injury. We talked about him on the small forward pod, but he's just his 3-point shooting, his scoring. He was averaging 20 for him. He could really make well for his position and his play style. But they were just overall better when he was on the court. So missing him is going to be really – it's just going to dampen their hopes pretty much. So they're going to really need a guy like Mike Conley to, get back into his Memphis, comfort zone and really get back. Because Mike Conley in the playoffs for us, he's one of those guys, and he's one of those veteran leaders that really steps it up in the playoffs. But he went from being the number one guy in Memphis. Now in Utah, he's not. He's pretty much like the third option, second or third option. Third behind Bogdanovic. But he's gonna really have to be the second scoring option for him coming out of Bojan's injury. So he's gonna be a guy who's really gonna need to step it up for the Utah Jazz for them to really make noise in this playoffs. But I think a lot of people have counted them out just because of the Bogdanovic injury. But I definitely don't think that they're for sure out of it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say Conley's the X factor. Not much else to say. I mean, it's a relatively young team. I guess their core is. But, yeah, I could see them winning in the first round, but I don't see them making the finals or the conference finals.
They aren't exactly what I would label a threat. They're good, but they're not great. So,
All right. Next up, we got the Denver Nuggets. We were talking about Skinny Jokic. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt his game. Because, I mean, a lot of the guys, you'll see guys get into shape, and then we just automatically assume that's going to help their game. But with Jokic,
that's one of his biggest traits.
His flab, I guess, with a lack of a better term, really is beneficial to him and his play style because he'll body you up. He can draw a double team, and yeah. He's kind of, even though he's not that athletic and he's kind of I don't know if he's soft, but like, you get what I'm saying. But
yeah.
yeah, but like that is just kind of how he's played. We haven't really seen a skinny Jokic. Maybe he turns into like a Kristaps Porzingis type guy. Who knows? But he was playing at an MVP level with his playmaking too, which is really critical. Denver's a really deep team too. They got Jamal Murray, Jeremy Grant, a really versatile defender, Gary Harris, and then like we were talking about, I think that the guy that's going to bring them over the top is Michael Porter Jr. This might be like my third time saying this.
Play.
But he's got to play, like you're saying. So I think the main focus for the defense is going to be on Jokic and Jamal Murray. So if Michael Porter Jr. could come in and really be that guy, I think this could be huge for him.
Yeah, I think that everybody has their angles. I think that Jokic, I mean, I don't want to assume their playoff success off of 2 photos that kind of made him look pretty skinny. I mean, I think that maybe if he is skinny, that hurts. But I mean, we don't really know for sure if that's what he's gonna be like in the playoffs. Like maybe he does gain some muscle and some weight. So I think I don't really want to really want to use that as something to predict them. But I do think that the Jazz have a chance to be a threat almost. I think that Jamal Murray is pretty good. I mean, I think he's kind of at his ceiling right now. But I mean, he's doing what he needs to be doing. And Jokic, as always, I mean, his playmaking's elite, shooting's elite. His defense, definitely a little bit of a liability. But I think that at the end of the day that they will have some success. And if they are matched up with somebody, they can give them a little bit of a challenge. I don't think they're going to be a breeze to get by.
I would say, it could be scary with Jokic out there. Maybe we get a little bit of point guard Jokic. Who knows? Maybe he's lost that weight, able enough to kind of run the point because Denver's kind of lacked a point guard that can distribute the ball well. I mean, Jokic is their leadest guy at center. Why not a point guard? Who knows? I'm just throwing it out there. And then they could throw MPJ in almost at the center, which would be super cool.
And then they do have Paul Millsap, a nice vet for him too.
Yeah, that is. I forgot about him. But this is a team that I don't see making it to the conference finals. I could see him second round. I mean, it just depends on their matchup.
I think depending on who they're matched up with, but I think no matter what, people are going to have to – it's not going to be an easy – I don't think they'll be able to get swept. I think they'll be able to stay in it.
This was a team last year that was 1 game away from being in the conference finals.
Yeah. They have the ability, especially like you guys have been saying, Michael Porter Jr., if he can play well, that's just another piece. That's just another piece.
So. I want them to have like 2 big power forwards and just throw Jokic and MPJ in there. I mean, because MPJ is like 7 feet tall. Jokic is like 7 feet.
Yeah, but I really think a guy that's going to need to step it up. He just got a 5-year, $170 million extension. Is Jamal Murray. He's been good this year. I wouldn't say he's a top 10 point guard in the league, and he's making top 10 point guard in the league type money.
Yeah, that's true.
He's going to really need it. I think the playoffs, if he can step it up, because I don't really remember how he played in the playoffs last year. I know Jokic was.
He had a good year last year.
But,
I think depending on his clutch factor, he can. But like I said, I think he might be at his ceiling just in general. I just don't think he's going to get that much better, and I do think they gave him a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next team we got here is the Boston Celtics. Obviously, the main guy there, Jason Tatum, towards the end of the season, he really broke out, playing at a really elite level. And then they got Jaylen Brown, too, who's really almost playing at that same – I wouldn't say the same level, but he's still, playing really good basketball. And then they got Kemba Walker there, too. Gordon Hayward's coming back. So I think that their 1 through 4 positions are really nice for him, but like I was saying earlier, I don't really know if Daniel Tyson and Nez Kanter can really hold it down for him in the center, especially against guys like Joel Embiid in the East, Bam Adebayo. So that's really the big question for him. Also with the Bucks, who's going to really guard Giannis there too? I think that they could really I think the Celtics will make the conference finals, if I'm being 100% honest with myself. But yeah, I just don't – the center position is a big question mark for me.
Yeah, I mean, Enes Kanter's definitely – he's a liability on defense.
I don't like Enes Kanter on defense.
Yeah, I don't really like Enes Kanter in general. I mean, I think he talks a little too much.
He's on my
Uh,
career team, dude sells.
I feel like people shouldn't know his name. I don't. I feel like a lot of people know Enes Kanter for some random reason.
I mean, he's a
But
really good offensively. He's really good. Like he's a nice rebounder and he can score well inside. But like, I'm just saying from the defensive standpoint.
yeah,
But
Daniel Theis also isn't exactly the guy you want at center against somebody like Giannis.
I mean,
If they were to make it to the conference finals, they're my conference finals. They're one of my teams. I think that the Bucks will win. I do think the Bucks are going to make it to the finals. We'll talk about that later, but in general, Celtics have a lot of pieces, a lot of just really good players. So, I mean, if they can somehow play really well defensively against Giannis, maybe just clog him, don't give him those lanes. I mean, I know that's hard to say, but if they can somehow find a way to do that, they'll win for sure.
Yeah, I feel like Tice kind of stepped up this year almost. I know he's not at the level of some of these other guys, but one thing I will say with the Bucks, um, I feel like they might not benefit the playoff scene quite as much as they do in the regular season, just because it's gonna be really tough for Giannis to get out and transition. The game slows down in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs with the Bucks. Because last year, I mean, Toronto basically built that wall. They didn't really have a single guy guarding him.
yeah.
It was more of a guard by committee type thing.
Beach, you had something else to say about the Celtics?
Yeah, my bad. I cut out there a little bit.
It's been a
But
lag fest.
yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're getting doxxed or something. But no,
Beat offs.
for the Celtics, like I said, Jason Tatum he's obviously a good scorer, but is he going to be able to, produce at that level that he's been producing at for a 7-game series or something like that? But I do like the fact that they do have Jaylen Brown scoring, and then a lot of people forget about Kemba Walker scoring, but in Charlotte he had some of those 60-point games, and then he has done some stuff in the playoffs too. And then one final thing I'll say about the Celtics is they are one of the only teams that are top 5 in both offense and defense. So if nobody's really getting it going offensively, they still have guys like Marcus Smart and other defenders to really help them through these games and keep them competitive. So then, like they're not a team that ever really gets blown out, is what I'm saying. So they're
Yeah.
gonna always have either or to keep them in the game. So yeah.
Also, just one quick thing, I guess, to add off of what Beach said is I don't know if I'm necessarily worried about Tatum in the playoffs. I feel like he proved that in that, I guess, run when Kyrie was out, as well as this year he's had a lot of clutch games, and really just throughout his career he's had a lot of big time shots, big time times.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if he honestly leveled up a little bit in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it just depends on if they can stop Giannis defensively. That's it for me. I think they can definitely score well. Jason Tatum has shown that he can do it, but if they can stop Giannis, I do think that they'll make the finals. But I don't think they will stop Giannis, so that's why I have the Bucks up there. All right, moving on to the Clippers.
We got the LA Clippers. Yeah, they really benefited from the extended break. I know we see a lot of lows management, but we had a healthy and rested Kawhi, who honestly just by himself can get you to the conference finals. Just a winning player. We're gonna really see the whole team come together because Kawhi and Paul George only played 18 games together, but in those games, I think of those 18, they only lost 2 of them. So they're just getting healthy. When the season was shut down, they were getting healthy. But they went 21-5 in games when Kawhi, Paul George, and Patrick Beverley all played together. And then plus they're one of the deepest teams in the league. So with everyone healthy, I really think that they can make the finals, and they're my pick to go to the Western Conference, or not the Western Conference Finals, the NBA Finals. So I definitely think that their health with everyone together and their depth is really going to be what sets them above other teams.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You got it, Art. Okay, I'll take it then. I would say with the Clippers, the plan not only benefited them health-wise, but I feel like their series with the Lakers significantly changed. I feel like this is like almost even a 2-game swing. The Lakers would have had home court advantage every single night if the games were in LA. So I feel like this is going to be huge for them. I feel like they just got to edge up on the Lakers, honestly, because the Lakers feed off of that crowd, and that's who LeBron and AD play for.
Yep.
They kind of play towards the crowd. And so it's going to be interesting to see. But I think this benefited them health-wise and as well as home court. I guess it's going to be huge for them.
For sure.
For the
Yeah,
lack.
the Clippers are actually my finals favorites. I think that they can win against the Bucks in the finals. I think that Kawhi and PG, I mean, defensively, they're probably, in my opinion, the best in the playoffs, and they've got such depth. I think they can stop Giannis, at least slow him down. That's all you really need to do against the Bucks, and with that depth, they can win. I don't see a scenario where they don't even get to the finals. I mean, LeBron, if he can turn on like 2018 LeBron, but we'll see. I do have the Clippers as my finals favorites though, especially with the ability to stop Giannis like Kawhi and PG can do. That'll be really really interesting to watch.
All right. Next team we got Toronto, the Raptors. They had obviously they won the finals last year, and a lot of the same guys on the team except for Kawhi. So they really got the championship DNA. They've all pretty much been there. Pascal Siakam really broke out the season. He's an all-star. He helped really carry that team. He didn't carry that team, but he was like the main guy.
Yeah, he was in the MVP race too before he got that injury.
But yeah, for every team, you kind of need to start like a superstar. I don't know if I qualify Pascal Siakam as that, but they do have a really good coach in Nick Nurse. They're really deep too. They have a lot of veteran presence, which is really what you need in a team trying to make the finals again. And I really, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, I really wouldn't be surprised if Toronto made the finals again. I think that their depth is really something that benefits them, especially in the Eastern Conference, because their tenth most minutes played is still Terrence Davis, who's one of the best rookies in the league. So I really think they can make another championship run.
I would say with the Bucks or Raptors. Sorry, I was already getting ahead of the Bucks, just because I was thinking of Chris Boucher.
Mm-hmm.
Just that monster dunk. Reminded me of Giannis a little bit. But they're a deep team, which I feel like would have benefited them a little bit more if the season had continued. Just because, players are going to be worn down by the end of the year. So I don't know if this necessarily helps them. They're also really big feeding off the crowd, but they do have a veteran presence. They know how to win. I would not be surprised if this is a team that ends up making it to the conference finals. But I don't see them necessarily beating the Bucks. If they have to face the Celtics and the Bucks, I feel like they might be able to win one of those series, but I don't think they can beat both of those teams. They need too much to go their way. I really like Siakam, though.
Well,
I feel like they're like one guy away from winning this.
Yeah, playing two teams like that with guys you have to throw everything at it physically, that's tough to kind of keep playing at the same level. I mean, after one series, they're already going to be beaten down. So, I mean,
like
especially with some of the smaller guards that they have, it's going to be hard to.
Yeah.
Defend.
So yeah, for the Bucks though, with the Raptors, they beat him last year. They know what they have to do to beat him. They really took him out. I wouldn't say they took him out of the game because he still averaged like 28 points, but
they slowed him down.
Yeah. They know what they have to do basically because Nick Nurse really he kind of built a defensive scheme to slow down Giannis, and then they really made Brook Lopez kind of beat them. And if you're making someone other than Giannis beat you, then you're doing the right thing. So I think they pretty much know what they have to do in that sense, which is why I can see them beating the Bucks, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know if they will. That's what I'm saying.
All right, moving on to the Lakers.
Next up, LA Lakers. Playoff LeBron is just a different animal. They're definitely the league favorite to make the finals, but besides LeBron and AD, they're just not that deep. So if one of them, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if one of them goes down, it would just really be a detriment to the team. I think this playoff run is really important in LeBron's legacy. This ring would really define his legacy, I think. I mean, they just have the best duo in the league. So I think LeBron and AD, despite their next best player being Dwight Howard, I still think that's just going to be enough to bring him to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just as if one of them were to get injured, if you can slow one of them down, they don't have the pieces to kind of last. I mean, don't get me wrong, as long as LeBron's on the court, they have a chance. But I think in the conference finals, if they were to play the Clippers, I don't see them. I think they'd lose in 5. I don't know. I think the Clippers are incredible defensively, and if they can just slow down LeBron or AD, there's well, actually, if you slow down AD, LeBron can still create for his team.
That's a big if, because we're talking about a different LeBron here.
Yeah,
in regular season LeBron.
that's true.
And plus, I mean, I know I just said that the Lakers are trash besides LeBron and AD, but they still do have some good veteran pieces. Like Danny Green won a championship last year. He's won a championship in San Antonio too. They have Avery Bradley too, a really good perimeter defender who can also really expand his offensive game. So I definitely don't think that their depth is a reason to count them out. But I do think that LeBron and AD are, I don't know, they're just going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, AD's averaging in the playoffs. AD's different. Like people don't expect. They kind of expect the regular season AD. He hasn't been in the playoffs a lot, but when he has been, he's played really, really well. At least with me watching him, I feel like almost always diving for extra rebounds and just putting his body on the line. Like I don't think he does as much in the regular season. But Anthony Davis, he's the X factor, I think, for this team. I know guys are going to throw bodies at him, but he's become a better shooter from 3. It's all on Anthony Davis here. I think LeBron's going to produce no matter what. It's going to be weird seeing LeBron, though, without fans because he's had fans in the arena since high school. So it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to that. But I really think this is kind of up to AD.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, finally, last team we got, Milwaukee Bucks, best team in the league record-wise. They got the MVP last year, probably this year too. One of the best coaches in the league, Mike Budenholzer. Not a lot you can say about it. We were talking about Giannis, though. I mean, obviously Giannis is Giannis. Probably going to be the best player in the league the next couple of years after LeBron's digressing. But, I mean, he was struggling with that knee injury a few games before the hiatus, but now he's 100%. He's ready to go. He's fired up. But, you know, there's like a lot of questions kind of with Giannis. Like, I mean, obviously they'll make it to the conference finals. They'll make it to the finals. But if a team like Toronto, again, kind of stops Giannis in his pass to the rim, I know Giannis is getting a lot more confident with his jump shot, but it's not reliable enough to settle for. I don't know if the Bucks can. I don't know if they have enough offense to like win games without Giannis, because Chris Middleton, he's great and all, but he can't really create his own shot, and he really feeds off Giannis's like finding him open and stuff. I mean,
and the draw that Giannis gets on defense.
So I just don't think that there's a guy who can really cover Giannis' slack if he's which is a big if he's not playing well, because he's not. I mean, because he's playing at a level that we haven't seen a lot of guys play at, and his just play style is just so hard to defend. But I'm saying if someone figures it out like Toronto did last year, then what is the next step for him? Like, what are they going to do about that?
Yeah. All right, Peyton?
Chris Middleton's definitely the X factor. I think if he gets slowed down at all, Chris Middleton's going to have to learn how to create his own shot. Hopefully he's been working on that during the hiatus. I know it's been hard to get access to gyms, but it's going to come down to him. Or honestly, Dante DiVincenzo's got that clutch gene. Who knows? I feel like he might play well in the playoffs. It's an interesting little sleeper guy.
Yeah.
He did at a high level at Villanova too.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think we brought up the Bucks in almost every discussion with each of these playoff teams. They're the guys to beat in the East, and I'm just excited. I'm really, really excited. I think this is going to be one of the best playoffs we've seen, especially with the build up, with the play-in. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah,
I'm
excited.
I'm thinking they need to get like a camera crew in those hotels, because that would be some
for sure. But like a reality television
TV
show. Bro,
dude,
I said it the other day.
Did y'all see like they got some amenities, dude? They got their own like personal chefs. They got bands and stuff.
They can't play doubles and ping pong though. So
they can't play doubles and ping pong.
They can't build that team chemistry. I think the Rockets are really gonna suffer from that. Okay.